welcome to Generationally Speaking. I am your host, Reverend Irene Smith, aka Miss Irene for all my young peeps. Join us each Wednesday night at 9:30 as we engage in vibrant conversations with my co-hosts, Gen X's, Gen Y's, and yes, even some Gen Z's. Today I have co-hosting Kimberly.
Hello. How
So
are you?
great to have you back. Kimberly, again, is a federal employee, and she's also partner?
Partner in Joy Maker Journeys.
Joy Maker's Journey, okay? And then I have Eric Smith, entrepreneur, tech company.
Yep,
I got it right?
you got it right.
All right, all right. And then our special guest today. I am so excited about having our special guest today as we continue our conversation on decisive moments. Minister Janice Glover-Jones. Welcome.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
Good to have you. And Minister Jones, she is a federal employee, SES.
Yes.
And God is good. And she also has some other things that she's going to share with us. I'm not going to talk about them right now. I'm going to allow her to bring those up to us. But Minister Jones, as we continue our conversation about decisive moments, no doubt in your life you've had some decisive moments.
Yes.
So I want folk to meet you in your early years, young Janice. People know us now, but they don't know our formative years, what we went through, what life was like for us. So share with us now those early years of your life.
Sure. So I'm originally from Camden, South Carolina. I was born there. My mom and dad got married and they moved to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
But I stayed down there until they came up here and found a place to live, and they moved for better opportunities from a job market perspective. And my grandmother actually wanted me to stay down there, and my mom was adamant, no, she's my child, and so she's going to come back up here. And so I was one of those kids that was born in the church. I don't ever recall a time when I wasn't going to church. And then because we did not have at the time a lot of family in the D.C. area, every break that I had from school, I actually went back to South Carolina because the bulk of my family was there. And so I tell people, I kind of grew up between Washington, D.C. and South Carolina. And when my parents got a divorce, actually, my mom then would really send me to South Carolina on school breaks because she needed someone to take care of me. I think I got baptized in the Washington, D.C. area at a church that we were members with. I think I was around the age of 12.
Okay.
Around the age of 12. But I would say that it didn't really hit me. I knew God, I knew Jesus, but me actually beginning to try to live my life for Christ, I would say in my latter teen years is when
So let me go back to those early years as a young child, going back and forth between Washington, D.C. and
Camden, South Carolina.
Camden, South Carolina. It had to be some differences.
It was a lot of differences. It was also, though, I figured out quickly because my cousins used to say, well, if you ask for this, they'll give it to you because they don't see it all the time, right? And so we began to use that as we could go and ask, can we have a soda? I mean, it was something simple. And then and then it got kind of crazy with my cousin said, go and ask Granddad, can you have a pony? That didn't work out too well.
So
but it was different.
Yeah, so your years, you went to school in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And then in the summer, you took that break.
I took that break.
And so when you went back to Camden and the circle of friends, did you find yourself just basically being around family?
We were basically around family because family had a farm, so we were working, right? And so I say that's where my work habits were developed and formed because we farmed all the vegetables. So we were doing farm to table before it was something about farm to table, and you pay that extra money today. And we were catching rainwater, and now I look at all of these things, and I go, wow, I could be a millionaire. We were doing that in the late '60s and early '70s. And so it was around family, but also then friends from church
Okay.
and friends of my cousin's friends that I was there. But it was very a close knit family.
And so going back and forth, did you notice any differences, like in terms of education, in terms of how the expectation that your mom had, and
Yeah, because in D.C., so I was actually in Catholic school.
okay,
And I was in a Catholic school that had priests and nuns.
okay,
So in my elementary years, I literally was at a Catholic school where nuns could beat you, nuns could pull your ears, and they had a convent, and so they live right there on the
Right.
campus of the school. And so going back and listening to some of the things that my cousins did in school, I was like, wow, it was completely different. It was a completely different world. And then even some of the schoolwork was a little different. But they had privileges that I didn't necessarily know, because I had a cousin who drove the school bus as a student and made extra money
wow.
driving the school bus.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So when you moved to DC, what part of DC did you move to?
We were living in Northwest Crittenden Street, Upper Northwest,
Okay.
off of Georgia Avenue.
Right.
So going to then, so your mom and dad got a divorce. How old were you at that time?
I can remember the day I was about 5 years old,
What?
and I had a blue and white dress on, and I just remember my mom
Wow.
coming home and saying, I went to the courts today and everything was finalized. I didn't fully understand the concept of divorce. I just knew he wasn't going to be living with us, and that, it was something that she needed to do. And I actually, if I recall correctly, I think we left there and then went to South Carolina.
Did you have siblings?
No, I was the only child at that time.
Oh, okay.
Wow. So at 5 years old though, that stuck in your memory. So, did your father ever come back and talk to you about it?
Not about the divorce. I would probably say I'm more closer to my father today than I have ever been. I mean, we talk on occasions, but not a whole lot after the divorce.
So,
But I would see him in South Carolina because his family is from there as well.
but just at 5, not coming back and having a conversation to say, I'm still your dad. I'm still going to be here. That kind of conversation.
No.
No.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, yeah. So then so now your father's not there and it's your mom, and you have this you can tell this circle that you're in, and your mom is making sure that she's getting you the best education that you can. And so you leave out of elementary and then you go to middle school. Do you continue middle school in Catholic school, or?
No. So in between there, my mom actually met and she got remarried, and we moved from DC to Prince George's County.
Okay.
And I actually then went to public school
Okay.
in Prince George's County. And it was different, but I don't recall it being a huge adjustment for me.
So then going to middle school, how was that for you?
Middle school, it was fun. I recall it being a positive experience. It was, like I say, I was happy to be out of uniforms. Because I was going to Catholic school, so I was in a uniform, and back then you couldn't wear pants, so they didn't have uniform pants for girls. On Saturdays, I was in the Girl Scout, so I had on another dress, and on Sundays, I was in church with another dress on.
Right.
So 7 days a week, I was in dresses. So I guess if I was going to say, one of the freedoms was I can pick my own clothes.
Okay.
I could finally wear pants,
Right.
right? And so that was important to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you keep that? Did you still have a group of friends from Catholic school when you moved into Prince George's County and started going to public schools?
I did have one or two, but we didn't stay connected too much longer, just simply because of the distance
Right.
between DC and Prince George's County.
And so from there, we get to high school, and you graduate from high school, and then what do you decide that you're going to do with yourself?
So I graduated from high school and I thought I had life all figured out. I was going to be a nurse. I knew I wanted to be an operating room nurse. And so my 12th grade year, I only needed 12th grade English to graduate. So I was in the work release program. I know it sounds like a prison thing, but they called it work release. I was in the work release program. So I went to school and literally I had 2 classes. And then I went to work, and I was actually working at that time in the federal government as a part of this program. And 2 federal agencies came to my high school, and I filled out application for both. I could not get grants, so the system, again, not set up for middle class people. I could not get a grant to go to college full time, and they weren't doing student loans back then the way that they're doing them today. So I went and I registered at Prince George's County Community College, and I said, I'm just going to work at this location until I graduate with my nursing degree, and then I'll go someplace else. And I ended up working for the federal government, going to school part-time, and I completed 2 years of my nursing program, and it was time to do my clinicals. So talk about decisive moments. At this time, though, I had already purchased a home. So I had a mortgage to pay.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Let's stop right there, because you leaving out some. How old were you when you purchased your first home?
I was 22.
You got to talk about that, because that was that's unheard of, even for then, for a 22-year-old.
Yeah. So my mom, I had heard my mom and my stepfather, they had been talking about, if you can, don't pay rent too long because rent is a waste of money. So I was still living at home. And I said, well, if I'm going to buy a house and I can pay the same amount for a house that I can for an apartment, maybe I'll just do that. And I began saving money for a down payment because I was living at home.
Okay, wait a minute. Decisive moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you are working and living at home with your parents, save your money so that you can buy a house and get out of your parents' house. But don't leave. Save your money. Help your parents, but save your money. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So it was time for me to start my clinicals. And the reason that I picked this program is because they had clinicals offered in the evening. So
Okay.
I could work during the day,
Okay.
then go to my clinicals in the evening. They changed the program. And we're no longer offering clinicals in the evening.
Wow.
And so now I'm at a fork in the road because I got a mortgage to pay.
Wow.
Right.
I need a job. And so I go into my counselor and I said, look, at this point, I just want to graduate college. I want a degree in something. I can't afford to quit my job and do my clinicals. What can I transition into and don't lose a whole lot of credits? And she said, have you ever thought about software development, computer programming? I said, no, I haven't. But how many credits will I lose and how many will I have to make up? And it turns out, so I actually did go into software development, and I learned to write code. It worked just simply because I was a logical thinker, and writing code is logic. And I don't even know if I liked it. I just wanted to complete a degree. And so I did. I graduated at PG and I transferred over to University of Maryland, University College. And I continued my degree in computer science, information systems management. Never intended to work in IT. Again, goal was to get a degree.
Get a degree. Decisive
Yes.
moments. But it's like God knows.
Yes, he does.
Even though for us, we don't quite understand why things are working out like they're doing, because someone else might have gotten so discouraged and just given up completely. But you said, okay, I'm going to get a degree in something.
In something.
In something.
Yeah.
But God knew.
Yeah.
And look where this is taking you.
Yeah.
Praise be to God. So, but at 22, you had your home.
Yes.
And then you were almost right there for your degree as becoming the nurse that you wanted to be. And instead, a decisive moment comes up, and the program that you wanted is no longer available. And that happens. That happens that which we want so badly, it seems like it's being snatched away from us.
Yes.
When actually God has another plan, another path for our lives. You ever been there?
Of course. Like we all been there. Like we all been there.
What about you, Kim?
Absolutely. I wanted a house, a certain house, and I was so disappointed when the loan officer told me I couldn't afford this house. And then one day I found a house that was in total disarray, that was actually $200,000 cheaper. And that's when I knew that God was looking out for me.
So you get this degree, and you're still working.
I'm still working in the federal government.
So what grade were you at that point?
Wow.
When you started off, what grade were you?
So I started in the federal government as a GS1, and I recall I recall coming home, and I was like, "Ma, I got a job," and she was like, "Cool, where?" And I told her, and she said, "What grade are you?" I said, "GS1." She said, "They still doing ones now?" I was like, yes, and so I actually got a job with the Defense Department, and so when I got that, I think I may have been a GS5 or 6. I really don't recall, but it wasn't over a 10, right? And so I get the degree, and actually when I got the associate's degree, I just happened to come in and tell them that I got the associate's degree, and they actually gave me a grade promotion.
Great.
So you went from a 1.
No, I hadn't gotten the associates then, but whatever it was, I think I probably went from a 7 to an 8 at that time.
But talk to us about that GS1.
The GS1. So I started in the government as a GS1. I hit every grade except for GS2.
Okay.
I even went backwards once to change
Series.
That's
series,
right.
to
Right.
change
Right.
series. I didn't lose any money, but I lost the grade to change career series. And I did reach the height of a SES. Never wanted to be an SES. That was not one of my goals that was written on my.
So that's a decisive moment, because you don't just become a SES. You have to go through, you have to commit, right, to going through the process.
So the process for me was, was people mentoring and coaching me and saying, "Janice, I think you're ready," and me kind of saying, "No, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I need this." I actually felt that I had reached the pinnacle of my career when I was a GS15 non-supervisory.
Okay. So GS1 was your entry,
Yes,
and then you obtained your degree,
yes.
and then you went from a 1 to a 3.
I went from a 1 to a 3.
1 to a 3. GS3. Now you got a lot of people sitting around you who are GS3s, and when you get to a 5 or 7, you still got a lot of people sitting around you who are wondering, and who've gotten comfortable. They got the flowers and the stuff growing on.
Yeah.
So what do they say to you when they see this?
So one of the things that I did to, decisive moments, my agency at the time offered a program called full-time study, where you could apply to go to school full-time and get paid while you're in school and earn your leave while you're in school. And I applied for that program. The people sitting around me were saying, "That program is not for us.
Yes.
So I don't know why you're wasting your time." And to myself, I said, "Well, I'm gonna let them tell me no and not you tell me no."
Right.
Right.
And so I put my application in, and I actually got it. That's what helped me make up for the credits that I lost from switching programs. Is I actually went to school 2 full semesters full time, continued to work. I even could come into work, and this was pre-computers at home, right? And do my homework at work and get online and things of that nature, use the library at work. And that's what I did.
And that's what I like to say, is that sometimes we spend our lives peeping or peering out a window and always saying what we can't have or what this is not for me. These are decisive moments in our lives, and we need to make those decisions to go forward. But we become comfortable.
Yeah.
And becoming comfortable
Yeah.
is a problem. You don't ever need to get comfortable. I don't care how old you are. Don't get comfortable. Always open yourself up to learning, because God presents these decisive moments in our lives. And so here it is, this program that was available to everybody.
It was available to everybody.
Anybody that wants to go, whoever, I mean, the thought of being paid to go to school full time.
Yeah.
But you have people, and so now you go through the program, and some of the people that was sitting there saying that this wasn't, now they're sitting there watching you. And so what was that like, that interaction?
It was over time we grew apart
Yes.
just because
Yes.
life changes and life happens, and some people went to other agencies, and some people took other roles that put them in a facility that we weren't together again. So life happens, but it did become, I ended up, I guess if I look back at it now, I often took the road less traveled.
Right.
And didn't allow the people who didn't have the power to say yes, give them the power to say no to me.
Say that again.
Yeah.
Say it one more time.
Yeah, I did not allow the people who did not have the power to say yes to give them the power to say no to me.
Wow. And that right there is worth repeating, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
We empower people who don't have any power
Yeah.
over us, but
Yep.
we empower them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I learned that there were things that I just didn't share, right?
Wow.
While they were still friends, and I don't think it was coming from a place of ill intent. It was just we become accustomed to what it has always been.
Right.
And I guess I was willing to challenge the status quo.
I do think that we can become comfortable. You meet people in your career as you're progressing, and you meet them at a 5 or 7 or 9, and you keep going, and they still comfortable in that 5, 7, 9, and like you do have to be careful that you don't allow the negativity of others.
Yes, yeah.
So these decisive moments, Kim, in your professional career, decisive moments. You remember when you started with the government?
I do. I was a GS2 though. But yes, and now that I'm a 15, and people thought I would never, I didn't think I was going to get there either. There are a lot of friendships lost.
Yeah.
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 Because people are just not where you are, and they don't want to be, and they want you to be where they are,
Yeah.
and where they're comfortable.
Yeah. And I think, Eric, decisive moments, I can imagine when you were in the government, you started in government GS11 or something like that, and you had your peers and they were wondering, I guess when you decided I'm going to leave the government, they probably asked you, are you sure about this?
Yeah, well, actually, I started as an intern in the government. Came in as like a 5, I believe. But the way the program worked out was within 3 years, you would go from a 5 to I think a 9 or something like that. So I think for me, I just happened to work at a small organization within the government. It was within DOD, but it was a small organization within DOD. So it was one of those environments where you just did everything. You had to, and you didn't have a choice.
You know what? That's critical. That don't be the person in these decisive moments that God brings. Sometimes we say, that's not in my job spectrum. They're asking me to do something that I'm not getting paid to do.
Right.
You need to open yourself up
Yeah.
in those decisive moments to whatever God brings, because whatever skill level He's trying to give you, it is necessary for where He's taking you.
Where He's taking you. And early on, someone told me, Janice, take the hard assignments.
Yeah.
Do the hard jobs.
Yeah.
Even when you don't feel like you're qualified for it, do the hard jobs.
Right.
And that's what I did.
That even goes back to college for us. We had a professor that everybody tried to get around. Computer science.
Yeah.
Everybody tried to get around it. But and everyone that was there took the class and did well. I mean, That's the professor you remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's those decisive moments, those professors, those difficult times, those are the critical points in your life that you need to make sure that you're hearing the right voice. You got to make sure that you're listening to the right voice, and so that you take sometimes the path less traveled.
Yes.
If that's where God is taking you. Wow, wow. Well, this, I want to thank Minister Jones for sharing with us. We're going to bring her back and hear a little bit more about her career. I think it is informative for our audience and for those who are looking on. If you're just standing at the window and you're pulling the shade back and you're peeking out and you're not living, get up and live. If you make a mistake, it's okay, because it's in the mistakes where you grow. If you hear no, it's okay. Take the no and make that no work for you and keep moving forward. These decisive moments. Again, Psalms 25, 4 and 5 says, "Make me know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truths and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day." That's Psalms 25, verses 4 and 5. Check it out. Read it over and over and over.
Yes.
Get it in your spirit. Meditate on it. Sit on it. Abide in it. And I'm telling you, God has places that he wants to take you, but you're going to have some decisive moments.
Yes.
And you got to make the right choices. So I leave you with the 3 B's. Be inspired, dare to dream. Be informed through the word of God. And be transformed by the renewing of your mind. All right, see you next week.